Have you seen this? The 1978 Bruce Lee movie about Zen Buddhism with Roddy McDowall, David Carradine, Eli Wallach, and Christopher Lee.
Welcome to Have You Seen This?
The world's only podcast about obscure, overlooked, and misbegotten media.
All discussions will be spoiler heavy.
You have been warned. The story is very much a repudiation of, am I following the rules correctly? Because, spoiler alert, when you get to the end, it's like, you're beyond rules. Like, the rules don't apply.
Right.
You make up your own rules, and that is really the key to the movie. And I think the lesson that, that Bruce Lee is trying to impart in this is, rules work up to a point, but after that, you have to just disregard the rules and the orthodoxy that you were living in order to live beyond those rules.
Yeah, especially because the main character, Cord, is a rash rule breaker at the beginning, but he's a little
he
too...
has great skill and power, but he lacks discipline.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which may not have been a cliche at the time.
Right. And it is somewhat novel. I don't know about, for 1979. I mean, I believe that Bruce Lee had been kind of building on this idea for a while with his collaborator, the writer Sterling Siliphant.
And I thought that was a made-up name. The name of a...
Should have wrapped him up in Siliphant.
This is my fake writing partner. He's a Sterling Sycophant. Siliphant, whatever. Did you say this was from 79? Because I wrote down 73, but that may be incorrect.
The movie came out in 79 because I believe that it, after Bruce Lee's passing, that kind of took the air out of the project for a little while.
Damn, DVD
and then,
lied to me. That's all right. Yeah, I said 1973 earlier, but whatever.
Right. Well, I'll let people...
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's the worst.
Everybody, Tim's email is tim at...
Yeah, message me on Twitter at TimToon. Fuck, I don't care.
just gonna go right into that round file.
So yes, Bruce Lee and his Sterling Sycophant wrote this movie with some other guy who doesn't have a goofy name, so I don't remember him.
Well, and this was intended to be a discourse on his personal philosophy, in which James Coburn would have taken the part of the wandering Cord, and Bruce Lee would have played 4 different roles, which are
the antagonist taking many forms.
Yeah, there's like a blind wise man. There's a monkey guy. There's some kind of warlord type guy, and
sultan. There's a panther
or
a jaguar. I don't know, Jen. You tell me.
Black Panther.
Right on.
Not many people know this, but Bruce Lee fought and defeated Chadwick Boseman.
Bruce Lee versus Black Panther. I would love to see that one-off comic. Because it would be Bruce Lee imparting wisdom to make Black Panther better at what he does, and then you go, right on. Yeah. So this
obviously symbolic of Chinese imperialist ambitions in the African
definitely.
continent,
but who says they can't work together for the betterment of China?
Well, I think they should get together to fight the CIA.
All right, that works
personally.
too. I mean, why not? The movie to me is very I want to call it Holy Mountain adjacent. Maybe it was just the time.
Yeah, I can see
that. Okay, so this movie was... Yeah.
It's very 70s.
It is very 70s. So if this movie was 78, 79, and Holy Mountain was 73, then you could see the mountain casting itself casting a huge shadow. But yeah, it is very 70s. Whoever the actor is playing Cord, he is very 70s. He is he's like a cross between Robert Plant and like Richard Lynch before he set himself on fire. He's like peak 70s guy.
I feel okay. Well,
Okay.
this is how I see it. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
Robert Plant is Squirtle,
Okay.
and Miles O'Keefe and Ator the Fighting Eagle is
Okay.
Blastoise, and this guy is
All right.
Wartortle.
So he's like, can't get much more 70s guy than that.
You know, he's kind of like your uncle's workout buddy who like seemed cool when you meet him, but he's like kind of tightly wound.
He's been that
And,
way
like,
since Nam. Yeah.
He's got like a he's got like a 72 Charger that he spends a lot of time working on.
Oh, he's real life Brock Sampson. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, like one day, like somebody makes a joke that you know about like something he does like is kind of gay, and you just see he doesn't say anything, but you just see his face.
Yeah,
get
he
real
just
tight.
or he, you know, like blows a gasket like Walter from Lebowski. What guy are we describing?
Either way,
here?
your uncle's buddy.
I thought we were describing Cord from Circle of Iron, but what do I know? Yeah.
Close enough. Same kind of principle. And like I haven't seen a lot of like James Coburn's stuff. Maybe he would have been stronger in
He's
the part.
James Coburn,
and he
yes,
definitely
of
would have been
course.
stronger
As
in
opposed to
the
the guy whose name I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Jeff Cooper, as it turns out, he actually he lived quite a long life. He died at 82 in 2018. He had walked away from the business in like the mid 90s, I think, to care for his mother when she was elderly. Seems like a reasonable guy, like kind of eked out a career in television. Perfectly respectable. Like I think maybe his biggest part was he played a psychiatrist on the show Dallas, and he was part of that Who Shot JR storyline.
Wow, a touch with greatness.
Yeah, so that would be his claim to fame. Like I don't I would say he tries in this part, but do you think he's trying?
I don't know. He's the best they could do for a movie that whose biggest name is deceased.
Like, I literally think that he was, like, a friend of David Carradine, and Carradine is like, hey, you want to come do this movie with me?
That tracks,
Which,
yeah.
Oh, God, and, okay, so, David Carradine, jeez.
I already have a heap of notes for this episode, but if you need to do, like, this might be a two-parter, but, if you need to do, like, a sidebar on David Carradine, go off.
Well, I would be very curious to hear your notes. Okay.
They are voluminous. Like, I don't even need you on this episode. You can go have a coffee.
Oh, sick. Well, I'll do my Carradine bit, and then you can, you can just read, and I'll put on the,
with the eyes painted on him.
The eyes drawn on. No, like, okay. Well, this is the thing about David Carradine. An actor I always liked. I wasn't really familiar with him until I guess Kill Bill came out.
Right.
Because I never watched like Kung Fu or anything like that, and an actor that I always liked because
he's got the actorly quality of being charming. It is like the one important thing that you want in an actor. Like, is this a person that I care about watching?
And I'll say this: like, as much as I've enjoyed watching him in a lot of different movies, like I've seen him in a lot of dog shit.
Right.
Which is, that's how it goes for actors who get a little bit of cachet, squander it. And I'm not even saying that in a judgmental way because,
I know, it's the Eric Estrada and C-Lab 2021 story all over again.
Well, I won't be as flippant as Tim. I'll say that the business is a cruel one, and if you have any kind of lack of ability to manage your own finances or kind of make wise career choices, things can go very wrong for you very quickly. But I think that at the time that Circle of Iron was made, things weren't quite that bad yet.
Well, he was mostly filling in off of the Kung Fu series. He was riding that wave, which, as you recall from the Bruce Lee biopic, it was him getting that over Bruce Lee.
Right. Because And the story, as I understand it, with Kung Fu was that initially it was a series. It was a. I believe that they wanted to do it as a movie, and Fred Weintraub, an executive at Warner Brothers, went to bat for it. And he really wanted Bruce Lee. The writers actually wanted James Coburn, which is interesting.
Look,
There's
yeah, it's
Coburn
like, look,
again.
there are only 3 actors you can cast as a martial artist. Bruce Lee, yes, James Coburn, probably, and if both of those two don't work out, David Carradine.
And what ended up happening was that I believe Richard Zanuck came in, and the thing that you do when you're a Hollywood executive is like once you replace the last guy, you immediately kill all the projects that were kind of
it's like a Pride of
because,
Lions. Like you got to kill all the children so you can have your own projects.
Yeah. You
right.
kill all the cubs, so your sperm is dominant. So that didn't happen, and then eventually it got repurposed into the TV series with David Carradine. And it should be said, like Bruce Lee, even as like an incredibly charismatic actor with incredible skills, he really had a hell of a lot of trouble cracking Hollywood. And in fact, he had to go back to Hong Kong in order to do it, because like what he really broke with was stuff like Enter the Dragon, which was made overseas. Like,
and that was
America,
like the like Kung Fu B movie that worked, because we've seen a lot of those elements in a lot of other different places that you're like, whatever. But yeah, like all taken together, like that's the one that really hit big.
Yeah, and like in the 60s, it'd been like, oh yeah, like we'll try you in the States, like come be the sidekick on this TV show, like come teach James Franciscus how to do kung fu moves. Like he, there was still enough like racism that people were like, no, like we're not gonna make a Chinese guy the star.
Right? Yeah, and
even if he is super
and to
fucking
think
cool.
that there's once a shortage of racism.
And he fought against it very hard, and like it legitimately bothered him. Like I was listening to an interview with him where he didn't do the da thing, but like it was pretty close, where like he kind of like hummed this tune to say like, oh yeah, like anytime I get a script or a story, it's like this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the Chinese
and that is really a
stereotypes.
discussion that is way beyond the scope of what we can add to. But yeah, like I would totally understand that.
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's important to remember, because a lot of times like these that kind of thing gets dismissed as like, oh well, that was okay back then. It's like, well, yeah, like it was okay to like a certain subset of the population. And like Cliff Nesteroff, the kind of media historian, has done a lot of good work like highlighting this. Every time there were there were people who were mad about F Troop when F Troop was on the air. They were like, this is insulting to Native Americans. But because like Native Americans didn't have much of a voice at the time, like they could be safely ignored. Like it's a little harder now in the age of social media. But yeah, so anyway, like Bruce Lee knew what he was up against in Hollywood. He hoped to crack that market and also explore his ideas with Circle of Iron.
Hey, you can't listen to this. If you want to hear the rest of this episode, you gotta head on over to patreon.com/haveyouseenthis. And for only $5 a month, you'll get the rest of this episode, plus one more every month, plus over 50 other patron-only episodes. Find the deep cuts for only $5 a month at patreon.com/haveyouseenthis. Link is in the description.